Okay, it looks like I'm live. Cool. So it worked. Just testing out some OBS hotkeys. Trying to use Control-Shift-Home for that right now, and I'm realizing that that actually highlights like everything on the page. So maybe I won't do that. But yeah, just playing around with my options here. Maybe I'll just make it Control-Home or something. I think that might be a little bit better. Yeah, so today I'm going to be doing a bit of unit testing, I think. So it's been a bit since I last streamed. And I was going to stream on Tuesday, but I just wasn't feeling it. I had a well, yeah, I had a meetup to run on Wednesday, and it just, yeah, it just didn't seem right. But yeah, yesterday, yeah, yep. Well, by Wednesday I mean yesterday. So literally there was a Rust meetup yesterday, and it went pretty well. I would say it was pretty good. I've got a few more guest speakers coming up, so that's actually very exciting. Always good to have people participating and trying to show off what they've been working on, and or just like come and talk about Rust. So that's yeah, that's going a lot better than I was expecting. So that was my yesterday, and yeah, before we get too sidetracked here, is there anything I want to go over? I think I may have updated the spec diagram a bit. Yeah, here's what the diagram looks like now. I did make some adjustments. I brought back the randomizer module. Actually, did I ever get rid of it? Or did I ever get rid of it on stream? There was a time where I was thinking of getting rid of it, and then I actually did, and then I went back on my word and said, nah, I actually kind of like having this here. Because it can be used to just like talk to all the different interfaces or traits here, and that's really nice. This config might not be a trait soon. I might actually just change that once I start getting into things, but I'm going to leave it for now and see what happens. I actually think this is completely unnecessary, because most likely what I'm just going to do is take the input config from the front end, do some kind of transformation to turn it into a config struct, like that, the one that's entirely comprised of primitives and custom data types, and that way I don't have to actually worry about not being able to construct this thing, because I have to rely on like the Rocket library stuff. So that's kind of what I want to do here. Maybe we'll have like a validation phase also in here as well. But other than that, yeah, I think this is final. This is final. This is final. I like these interfaces. Well, this interface, or this trait, I should say, probably is going to change a little bit. The methods it currently exposes may be a little bit too low level. Might be exposing some of the implementation details to some degree. I don't really like that, so ideally I would change this just a little bit to make it a little bit easier to work with, but other than that, I think this is good. Common is now over here. So the reason why I got rid of the error module is because I came to the realization that if I have a separate error module out here, then I'm inevitably going to run into some like cyclic dependencies. Like I'm going to have one module depending on another, and that one depends on the original, and I generally think that's actually okay. I don't think there's any really big issues with that, but I don't know, it just to me feels a little bit maybe I don't know, misdesigned. I don't know, it's more like a feel thing more than anything else. I don't remember if that caused issues for me in the past. It might have, I can't remember, but yeah, all I remember, or like all I know is that it, or at least all I think I know is that it might cause issues. So I try to avoid having modules that depend on each other and create like cycles in the graph. So that's why I got rid of the error module. I do know that other projects have like error modules, but usually they're kind of like grouped together with their submodules. Like like I think Rocket has error like submodules that live like as sibling modules to the modules that they're well associated with, I guess. So if there's like a graph module like this one, there might be like an error module that lives as a sibling to the graph one, and that one just has like graph specific errors. Oh, excuse me. Don't know where that came from. I'm gonna have a swig of water. Alright, that should help. So yeah, that's one way I could have done things. I decided not to go with that. So instead, all the errors are in their corresponding modules, or like the data type modules. I think that's okay for now. My project isn't super big. I don't think it's that necessary to, you know, move all the errors into their own separate modules, but maybe I will do that in the future if things get a little bit bigger, if the code becomes a little unwieldy. That might be a good idea. So yeah, let's just dive into this. So last stream, I think I was doing some sprint planning. I didn't really get very far, and I think this is going to be a relatively short stream today as well. But I just want to show a little bit of what I've done here. So we're just gonna hop right into things here. Actually, I want to Vim from up here, I think. I guess it doesn't matter too much, but I like being rooted, like having that RW kind of like rooted at the project root. It just feels right. Certainly not necessary, but there's a lot of things I just kind of do based on feel. Did I show this off? I don't know if I showed this off. There's I'm using this error, so I added that to my dependencies list. Did I talk about validated as well? I'm not sure I did. I think I do think I did talk about validated a bit, actually, yeah. So this error is being used here, so I can attach this this nice error message to this byte write error. I like this because this just automatically implements the display trait for byte write error. It's just nice. It's just really nice to be able to just use this error for that kind of stuff. Anyhow might actually have to go. This is something that I kind of hate to do, but I might have to get rid of anyhow because of the way that Rocket reports errors. There doesn't seem to be a very good way around that. I'll show what I'm talking about in a bit. But here's what I've done with the ROM writer module. I don't think I've changed too much here. I moved these functions out, like write bytes, write byte, and write addresses. So those used to be private methods of the ROM struct. But now we only have this new method for ROM. So that's the primary constructor for it. And we have this impl of ROM writer for ROM. And that's it. That's literally all that ROM has now. And the reason for that is because I actually wanted to do some unit testing. And these functions are more or less utility functions. These can be private to this module, and they don't have to be exposed outside of it. But they also don't have to be methods in the impl for ROM at all. And so what's nice about this, actually, is they now are no longer tied to ROM in any way. They just take a buffer, they take some bytes and an address, and they just write to the mutable buffer here. So this is actually really nice. Like, originally, I was just taking a reference to ROM, right? Or yeah, to ROM here, and it didn't really make any sense to, because I'm not actually writing anything to ROM, right? Like, I wasn't actually mutating ROM in any way, so that was completely unnecessary. And now I get the added benefit of being able to actually unit test these functions. So this is some form of white box testing, obviously, because the public API for this module can't actually talk to these functions. They're not marked pub. So yeah, it's completely invisible to the outside world. But within our module, we can add a submodule tests like this. This is the standard way of doing unit testing in Rust. and we can actually test those functions. So I have several tests here, one for testing right addresses, one for trying to write out of bounds, and one for doing a partial write out of bounds, and one trying to write multiple addresses. Here's one for overlapping addresses as well, in case you have overlapping writes for whatever reason. I don't know why you'd do that, but this also tests to make sure that that behaves the way you would expect. It just takes the writes and does them in order. So that's really cool. This is yeah, this is just a really nice way to just make your code a little bit more testable and get that code coverage up without having to, you know, I guess without you would have to like hide these functions inside of ROM, and then ROM, you know, creating a ROM isn't all that easy because you have to actually like open a file. Okay, maybe you could make a dummy file to make that happen, but still, like, in general, you want to keep I/O out of your unit tests, so that you don't have to worry about that kind of thing, right? Because if it came down to like opening a socket, for example, then it would be a very different story, because you can't guarantee that the server that you're trying to talk to is up or anything like that, and your tests become flaky, right? And I mean, that's fine for like integration testing, but in this kind of scenario, you don't want that. So yeah, this is just a really good way to increase your test coverage, right? Just don't make these methods. Just keep them outside. Keep them private to the module. So now I still don't have to expose them to the world, which is nice. I don't have to make them public at all. But yeah, they're also testable. So it is a little bit white box, and you know, some people might say that's egregious and I shouldn't do that, but you know, that's more of a stylistic thing. There's plenty of reasons to do white box testing, and anytime you're really doing unit testing, it is kind of like white box testing, because you're injecting certain errors in at certain points and trying to simulate certain error conditions and stuff like that. Like, well, what if I get a 404 kind of thing? So it's not really like you're doing black box testing anymore, even if you are only trying to use like the public API. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I've got. So the next thing I want to do is go to the randomizer module here, and I want to do some unit testing for this which function? This function, randomize game, because this is our main logic. Here we're injecting like all of our dependencies, right? We're injecting the config. This could probably be a struct in the future, but for now we'll just create like a mock config, right? Because we can do that. We can mock the config. Wow. We can mock the RNG, we can mock the ROM writer, and we can just run this. And that's it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. One thing I kind of want to do actually at some point is refactor this code and move this match out of here. Since this is basically like an EDSL being interpreted, I kind of want to match that sort of style. I mean, it is in a way kind of like doing like like I could have done a visitor pattern here instead, but this is, you know, if using the enum is a bit cheaper. Don't have to do the allocation and stuff. But I do think it would actually be nicer to, you know, keep it consistent with how other code bases tend to do this sort of thing. So I think we'll do something like this. And I think this actually makes a lot of sense. It keeps the indentation a little bit cleaner. Right, we're not going quite as deep. And now we just have this function dedicated to you know, processing the individual settings. It's like processing individual instructions. You just have like a match. You'll see a lot of functional code bases doing this sort of thing, and I think that's pretty reasonable. So I'm going to just take this out of here, we're gonna call process setting instead. And this will just take our setting, of course. It also needs the RNG, so we'll borrow the RNG here. We'll give it... Oh, actually we don't need to do anything else, because the rest of the data comes from something else entirely. Yeah, the actual setting itself. So that's good. We'll take ownership, I think, of the setting. Actually, I don't know if we can do that. We'll try it. Actually, this can be a star import because we're most likely going to not care too much about that. Do I have setting? Yeah, I do have setting imported. Okay, that makes sense. So we'll take a setting. That doesn't need to be mutable. In the future, we might have steps that depend on other steps. That could be a problem. I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with that. At least not at the moment. I'm kind of assuming that each step is sort of independent and that one setting doesn't affect the other. Or like it could mutate like a global graph structure that gets passed between. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not sure how this is going to go. We might have to create like a game state structure that gets passed around. But I don't want to worry about that right now. Something that we can mutate. Sort of as like a local variable here. I think that would make sense. What's nice about mutable variables in Rust is that mutations are generally kept fairly local. Mutation is very much controlled in Rust. Sort of like how you use like the ST monad or like a state monad in Haskell. Like it's in the types. You can see when stuff is going to be mutable there. And the compiler also does some amount of enforcement of that too. So I'm not too bothered about doing mutations, despite the fact that, you know, I'm generally more into functional programming. It's just the way it is. Wait, oh yeah, that does work. Huh. I don't know why I didn't think that would work. Oh, because I'm not used to using infiltrate in argument position. It is less verbose, honestly. So I do kind of like that. I just wish it was a different keyword. I wish it wasn't impl again. Because it's just, I don't know, it just isn't really accurate. But whatever, I'm going to stop whining. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. That works for me. If I do a cargo clippy, hopefully it doesn't complain. It might. And if it does, then I'm not too bothered. But I hope it doesn't. But yeah, that keeps our main business logic here, the randomized game function, very clean. And I like that. What is going on? Hello? Clippy? Okay. It's just a little bit slow. Oh, errors. Rip. Mismatch closing delimiter. So line 60 and 61. Okay. Oops, not in the right window, or split, I mean. Oh yeah, I don't need this anymore. That's right. That's entirely unnecessary now. Clippy is such an amazing tool, by the way. It caught so many errors. It caught so many bad things that I did. It's not just like code cleanliness or optimizations. Like it does actually point out some small optimizations. It points out things that you should do that are more idiomatic, but it also errors, like hard errors on things like you have a hash implementation and also like you have your own custom partial equality implementation, but you derive hash because you definitely don't want to do that. And something that the Rust compiler isn't going to stop you from doing, but Clippy will, because that's definitely not something you want to do. It's just another layer of protection. It's really, really nice. You definitely want to do that. Wait, why is this thing complaining? Oh, right, because... Yeah, I kind of forgot how this is going to work. This is going to return a validated, isn't it? Yep. Alright. I just forgot the return type in the signature. That's fine. We'll do a cargo format because I think that looks better. Refresh. Really? It's okay with that? It's not gonna try and split this across... Okay, I guess maybe it's because I've zoomed in. Maybe it doesn't care. That's kind of interesting. I'm kind of surprised it didn't try to move that, or like try to split things across multiple lines, but maybe, yeah. 2 errors, or maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I still have errors here. What are you talking about? Did I pass my, I did. It's not satisfied. What do you mean? Trait bound. RNG is not satisfied. Removing the leading reference here. Oh. Really? Okay, that's one error. Isn't there another? Cannot find struct. Oh, right, because that actually belongs here now. Ah. Okay. Two errors, really? Okay, they're both together this time at least. Consider mutably borrowing. The trait bound is not satisfied. What? That's really weird because it's right here. Okay. Well, I'm mutably borrowing. Trait bound not satisfied. Huh, that is awfully strange, because... Oh, is it because I'm borrowing here? Yeah, I probably don't need this one. That's what it's complaining about, because I'm already borrowing it, so I don't need to... Yeah, I already have a reference. That's perfectly reasonable. Okay, cool. So now that's refactored. It looks a little bit nicer. This is all a lot cleaner. Or at least it will be a lot cleaner. So I'm very happy with that. And now I think we can actually start unit testing this. So yeah, this will be fun. So I have actually kind of started down here. I didn't get very far, obviously, as you can tell. But I'm creating a mock config. Obviously the mock config needs to have certain methods implemented for it. You'll notice how every time I've tried to compile the project so far, it hasn't complained yet, even though config obviously isn't properly implemented for mock config, and that's because tests aren't actually they aren't actually checked. So the compiler isn't actually doing anything with this test module yet, which is cool. It'll kick in once we actually try to run like cargo tests though, and then we'll have problems. But for now, this is actually not causing any issues, which means that we can just try and compile this this code up here instead of our test code, and not get those errors polluting that space. So that's nice. I do think I want to do another split. Now things are kind of getting a little bit cramped. I'm gonna just stretch this out. There we go. Let's equalize all those splits. I don't have the buffer open yet. What do I want to open? I want to open the config module. So one thing that I actually do need to talk a little bit about is, in the functional spec I did mention logging and debuggability, and so far no logging, right? I actually don't have any logging happening here. The diagram doesn't even account for it. There's no logging interface or facade for that. So yeah, that's something that I realized as I was looking at the functional spec recently, and that's why it's good to have a functional spec, by the way, so that you look at it and remember, oh yeah, I was gonna do that, and you don't deliver a project that or a product that doesn't have all the original intended functionality. Like this is good for bookkeeping, and yeah, that is something that I actually completely forgot about. We want logs, and we need logs. So that is something I want to add to, not my sprint, but to the backlog. I actually have no idea if we're going to be able to do this. This stuff took a little bit longer than I expected. This stuff was severely underestimated. The business logic, like I wasn't thinking about testing, I guess, or I wasn't accounting for the additional testing, and I wasn't accounting for how much the stuff would have to change. Like I changed those interfaces quite a bit as I was busy trying to implement like the core business logic here, because I started to realize that certain things didn't work, and so I had to adjust the interfaces to work with that. And that's kind of why it's so important to do this kind of thing early, so that you can get your interfaces, your abstraction boundaries correct. Right now I'm pretty happy with what I have. No doubt there will be some further changes, but they won't be quite as big as the changes that I made so far. Other than maybe for config, but I think the transformation of config probably isn't going to be too difficult. I doubt it'll be all that complicated, but we will see. We'll have to see. Actually, what is happening in this anyway? Because I have that smart constructor. I think that's actually part of... No, that's in common, yeah. I have that smart constructor and stuff in common. That probably shouldn't be in common. I might actually split out common into a bunch of helper modules that have the appropriately named things in them, like maybe a settings module just for the settings data type. Because common kind of conflates a whole bunch of stuff together, and I don't think that really makes sense. Yeah, that's generally the feeling that I'm getting. I might want to split up common. I'm not going to do that right now, but that is something I'm definitely considering. Get seed. Yeah, so these stubbed out methods are basically good enough for mocking anyway, as it is. So yeah, this KatAM config, when we actually implement this thing for real now, yeah, it'll be fine to just use like unimplemented for this. I think that makes sense. Do that for now. We can even do that for this. Just have unimplementeds everywhere. To me, that makes the most sense. That way, if we try to run our code with the appropriate things unimplemented still, then the compiler, well, not the compiler will catch us, but we'll get a panic and it'll kill everything and let us know immediately that, hey, you're calling stuff that's not implemented. This has actually led to, I wouldn't say bugs, but while building out a previous project, there was a point where we weren't using unimplemented, and what ended up happening was we had like a stubbed out method. It just returned like a dummy value, and when we ran the code, we were getting unexpected results, and we were so confused, like what's going on? And then like it turned out, yeah, we forgot to implement something entirely, and we didn't realize it because the compiler wasn't complaining, and when we were running the code, like, you know, we weren't seeing that unimplemented method or like stubbed out method really. we didn't realize that we were just returning a dummy value, and so eventually we came across it and realized, oh, of course, like, duh, we aren't actually implementing the function correctly at all. So yeah, I've come to appreciate this unimplemented macro quite a bit. It's really nice for those kinds of cases where your project is a little bit bigger, maybe you lose track of which parts aren't implemented yet. Yeah, keep the dummy values to your mocks like this. Like, this is good. This is great for mocking. It's not so great outside of mocking, but yeah, this just works really well. So what I'm going to do now is try to implement the, I think, what else do we need? So we've got config. I've mocked the config. I suppose if I'm mocking the config, actually, yeah, if I keep the config as an interface like this, I could actually just not have a conversion function and then implement the config trait for the actual config that I load through Rocket. That is possible. I could actually keep the current design. It wouldn't really be so bad. I would have to define a method for every single field of the config, though. That might be a little bit annoying, but I mean, we kind of have to handle every field anyway, right? Like when we transform into a custom data type, we still have to do we still have to do a transformation for any new fields that we add. So I guess it's not really so bad. Yeah, it's not really that bad at all. I might just leave this as it is. Again, like I said, we will see. We will see. I'm not entirely sure about all my decisions. There aren't really any like right or wrong answers, clearly, as far as I can tell, at least so far. I mean, sometimes you get an answer that's very clearly wrong, and you're like, okay, I have to change this. But for this, I feel like it's more of like a stylistic thing. This is definitely more of a up to you, mostly cosmetic change. Might have some drawbacks in certain areas in terms of like code duplication, but I'm not seeing those issues immediately. I actually think this might be better for code coverage, in fact. So yeah, I think I might want to leave it. But both options are very viable, and I think the other option might be slightly more idiomatic than having all these like getters for like a config. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that for too long. It's kind of beside the point. We want the RNG, I believe, and we want the ROM writer. Right, I kind of got distracted about the logging stuff. What I want to do is I want to create a new issue. That's what I want to do. Sure. We'll just use our template that I created because I'm so awesome like that. And we'll just use, I don't know, logging. Oh, I probably should get rid of this because I have story points as labels now. Logging shouldn't take very long to look into, but I'm gonna label it as 3. I'm just gonna go with 3. You know what? Yeah. I don't want to assume too much. I mean, if I'm using like a logging facade, I don't know if I would need to add my own trait for that even. So like, yeah, I'll just do that. I'll stick with that for now. No assigned projects yet. I want to start assigning stuff to milestones too. At some point, that's something I really want to do. Just set up like a milestone for the project, like I don't know, like a beta release or something that we can get out there, and start adding tasks to that. I think that would be really cool. Just to have that measure of progress. But for now, I'm going to not do that because I want to focus on the unit testing and wrapping up these tasks. Yeah, so I do consider what I have for the ROM writer module final for the unit tests. I think that's good enough. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm probably not going to be testing it any further as far as I know, unless, you know, there are bugs and I have to do some like regression testing, obviously. But I'm happy with that, so I closed that issue, even though I haven't merged this into main yet. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be merging the business logic branch into main at some point. It just doesn't really make sense not to do that. So I want to import the RNG trait, and I don't remember, I think I defined the RNG trait, didn't I? Yeah, because the other RNG trait that is exposed by rand isn't capitalized in this way. I didn't choose this because I felt like I needed to avoid a namespace collision or anything like that, because obviously you can avoid namespace collisions very trivially by prefixing with the module name, but I actually just you know, happened to pick RNG because that's when I see an acronym, I want to capitalize all the letters because that's how you're supposed to do acronyms. So we're gonna pull that for me not pressing the right buttons. I'm a little bit tired today, a little bit tired right now, so I might be doing. I might be ending soon actually. What was it? ROM writer for mock ROM writer. Yeah, we have that imported, so that's fine. And we are importing everything that our super module is importing. That's what this is doing, so that's perfectly okay. So these only have to implement a few methods, I think. One each, if I remember correctly. I keep doing that. Alright, there we go. Yeah, we have that. That makes sense. Oh yeah, this takes a probability. That's right. I actually forgot about that. That implementation is actually going to be fine. I actually don't think I need anything other than this. I'm not even going to bother changing that to unimplemented because that's just... that's an implementation that just makes sense. But here, we could just return true. No matter what the probability is, we'll just return true. I've seen some like best practices out there that say don't mock things and just use fakes instead. So if someone passes in a probability, then it actually does give you like the correct thing back. So it's more like the real scenario. You could argue that what I'm doing here is bad practice, and you know what? I don't really care. Too bad. That's what I'm doing. I'm mocking my my RNG. I have nothing against fakes, by the way. I think that fakes are also a good and viable way of testing things, and in fact, maybe they are better. You know, maybe I could just use the actual RNG here with the probability. Actually, hang on. No, wait, this does use the probability. That's right. I could do like a mock implementation that uses the probability in its own way or something. I don't know. Or I could just use, yeah, I could just create the actual RNG from the dependency. Sure, I could do that. I don't really care. I don't think it's that important. It's not that big of a deal. It'll make testing things a little bit easier, in my opinion, because then I can simulate certain scenarios. So this is a lot better for like white box testing, and that's kind of what I want to go for right now. I'm not gonna try and replicate the exact situation until I get to the integration tests. I think that's generally how most people kind of look at unit and integration tests anyway. You can have you're free to have whatever opinions you want on testing. There's many different styles of testing. So I want to go to ROM writer again because I need to go and copy this signature. Now this is going to be a little bit more interesting because this actually returns a result. Yeah, but we're not actually going to do any writing because there's nothing to write. So okay, it is. I think that'll be fine. I think that's I think that works. So now we should be able to just call a randomized game with all of our mocks, and I don't think there'll be any issues with that. Yeah, here we're not even setting any settings. I think that's a valid case. If you just want to, for some reason, upload an empty configuration and you get the ROM that you gave us back, then I don't think there's any issues with that. One thing we could do is have the front end, you know, complain about that and be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you should try to set some settings, or like, you know, you probably want to set some settings because otherwise the randomizer is not going to do anything. But I generally think it's okay to have sort of this like identity function. I don't think there's anything really wrong about that. I mean, obviously that's more of like a design decision on the UX side. But as far as the backend is concerned, you can have an empty list of settings. Sure, why not? And that can be enforced kind of more loosely on the front end, I think. So I'm okay with this. Wait, what's the order? What's the order of my impulse? Config RNG ROM writer, right? Okay. So I do have everything in the right order here. And this should just run. There shouldn't be any issues with this. Oh yeah, and I think randomized game returns. Where is it? Randomize game returns an anyhow result. Okay, so basically, if this thing panics, then that's bad. We want this thing to just not panic at all. So we'll say this returns an anyhow result, and so the test will fail if we don't get an okay. It'll fail with whatever the error message is, but as far as I'm concerned, this is okay. There's no issues here. We'll run cargo test, and that should run all of our tests, well, all of our unit tests at least, because we don't have any integration tests yet. That's something that we do need to do eventually once we actually start implementing everything end to end. Oh, and here's the compiler errors for the tests, because of course we didn't actually reach that yet. Ah, yes, I actually forgot about this. I should get rid of that. Alright. There are other errors, but I'll just fix them one at a time, because sometimes when you fix one error, others go away. Of course, that can be annoying because then you have to recompile, but generally not too big of a deal. Undeclared type setting? What? Oh, wait a minute. I can't do that. I can't actually do that because there's a smart constructor on that. See, there you go. There's something that I forgot about entirely. Yeah, I actually can't do that. Ah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, huh. Got it. And that comes from the config. Because config gets the settings, right? Hmm. Yeah. So we actually can't do that at all. That's a problem, I think. Or it wasn't, I did copy that though, so that's weird. Yeah, that's... I'm pretty sure I copied that, but then that was compiling before. Well, that actually doesn't really make sense, because that should actually be non-empty, right? Let's go edit source/common.rs. Yeah, no. This makes sense. Yeah, there's a new on that. That returns... Oh, that returns a result. That returns a result. Yeah, no wonder. No wonder I was getting myself confused. That returns a result. Okay. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back. Wait. No, this is correct. This is the right file. I can go back very easily. Okay, that returns a result. Got it. So it's undeclared use of type settings. Did I not import that? I guess I didn't. Okay. Well, only the tests need that, so tell you what, I'm gonna do a use crate common settings. Let's see what that has to say. Oh, and I need non-unique settings, of course. Non-unique settings error. There. So if we get any errors, well, no. I think this is a pretty good start. I can probably leave the test at this for now until we start adding more settings and more variants. Because at that point, then we can actually test that we get non-unique settings errors and stuff like that. We can start testing for those kinds of edge cases. And that's cool. But for now, yeah, we've got 6 tests that pass. And I am perfectly a-okay with that. Cool. We are good to go then. So I'm gonna push these changes. I'm gonna merge them into main. I'm pretty happy with this. One thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up here today is where is it? Which module? Is it main? I think it's in main. Yeah, we need to go back to main. Source/main.rs. So the reason why I think I might have to get rid of anyhow is because of this. I have to create some kind of error, and I have this internal server error type that I created. And it has to implement the responder trait. The responder trait is a rocket thing. It's the only way to have my submit here work the way that I want it to. It's quite annoying. And yeah, if I want to return a result here with any kind of error, I have to do this. I have to have this error type that implements responder. Responder requires you to have either a struct with one field, at least. It has to have at least one field, or an enum with at least one field in its, I think, first variant. I can't remember the rules exactly. So responder is quite picky. And I understand why. They want to make a very type-safe API, but it also makes working with anyhow errors kind of unwieldy. And so you have to do this kind of like conversion. And this is obviously not the best conversion because it doesn't even use the error right now. This is something I have to change. This is definitely a to-do. I might make a task for that, actually. It depends on how things go after I finish up the front end work. I want to work on investigating the Halogen app stuff, getting the front end server going, having that talk to the back end server, all that stuff. Have that set up in Docker, right? Like that to me is kind of very important, and we need to work on that probably next. But for now, this is looking pretty good. So I'm gonna move ahead with this. There's this to do as well. Yeah, I don't know about this. I honestly have no clue what I'm going to do with all this. We will see. But yeah, we definitely need to start creating some more tasks. And I'm going to just go ahead and do the one thing that makes sense right now. And that is to add these files and push those. I don't want to do a git add source /star because I have these swap files. I might actually add that to my git ignore. That's a good thing to add to the git ignore, I think. Let's do that. No, it's not here. That would be down here probably. Just edit git ignore star.swap. Because I don't want to be checking in swap files. It just doesn't make sense to be doing that. Now, if we... Oops, I need to do git status, not id status. Now the swap files are gone. So that's very nice. So I can do a git add.git ignore. Add source/star. Very good. Now that's all taken care of. We don't want to add the GBA file. I was just using that for testing. I don't know if I want to just delete that file right now. I mean, I guess I'm not really using it, but yeah, we'll see. It's not urgent. And a nice commit message. Yeah. Add unit tests to randomizer and ROM writer modules. Very good. And now we can push that to our branch. I think I've made that a remote branch. Yep, I sure did. Cool. And if I want to, I could probably make a pull request for that or something. I don't know if it's necessary. But I do a pull request into main. Oh man, yeah, there's so much stuff that got changed here. Oh, I also added all the front-end files too, didn't I? Yeah. Sure did. I didn't even think about that. I did add the front-end files. That's fine, that makes sense. That was deleted, yeah. Front end stuff probably needs to change. So this is an example of a bad PR. This is basically like 3 separate things in one. This is not a good PR. But whatever. I made this pull request. I'm here to merge it. Yay. I could have just merged it locally and then did whatever, but I don't know. I just felt like doing this so I could delete this branch. Cool. Delete the branch like that. It's just easier. Now we only have one branch. And now we have everything that we want here. Issue template needs to be updated. Yeah, we'll can I edit this? Okay. Very nice. There we go, that's updated now. Wait, what is this here? Why does that exist? Oh wait, this is this is a template file. This is not, right, the actual template itself. Okay, so that's probably good. We can pull that. Oops, I'm silly. Well, it should have updated the main branch anyway. Check out main. Yeah, get pull. Very good. Get branch dash D business logic. Now we've gotten rid of the local branch and we're all clean. Everything's good. So there we go. I'm just gonna add some tasks. The ones that I already forgot about. Shoot. Oh wait, one was investigate better solution for error handling with Rocket and anyhow. I use we. You know, screw it. I'm so used to doing that in like projects with teams, and it just makes sense. Like if I ever add more people to the project, then you know, I'm gonna go with we. We need to use return an error that actually provides the proper error information, whether that uses anyhow or not. Acceptance criteria, return error with proper error information. And I think that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's actually it for this issue. It's probably not something that can easily be tested, I imagine. Maybe with integration tests we could. Sure, we'll just tack that on there. Because of the extra integration tests that we're adding, I'm gonna say this is probably worth 3 points, because we have to do some investigation too before we actually complete this thing. I could say this is a spike, but I think we definitely, I don't know, I think this is a little more specific than a spike. Like, we kind of know what we need to do, we just need to actually figure out the best way to actually do it. Yeah, I think this makes sense. Maybe instead of investigate, we'll say create better solution for error handling. Yeah, we'll do that. Sure. I'm not even using assignees right now because I'm the only one working on this project, but yeah, that's something that we need to do. Anything else we need to do? I already have the spike for logging. When we implement the config or implement config loader, yeah, this needs to be changed to config. When we implement this, we're gonna figure out whether or not we need this to be a trade or not. So I'm gonna leave this as it is. Just change that. I'm gonna change the title. Yeah, that makes sense. I think the RNG trait is already implemented. We don't need to add a task for that, so that's fine. I need to update the board. That's one thing I need to do. Let's go do that. So this is done now. Now I can start investing in the halogen front end stuff. Yay! Although it's already Thursday and this is 5 story points, this is probably not going to happen. Oh well. Yeah, I guess I can do a short retro right now for how things have gone so far in this sprint. And I will say that I am stupid and I forgot that I had a meetup to run this week and I didn't account for that at all. So that's kind of my bad. I don't know. It just never occurred to me that, yeah, I'm going to be spending more time, you know, preparing for that. I'm going to actually have to, you know, have a long Wednesday because, I mean, I still have to work, right? I still have to work my usual 8-hour shift, and then I have to run a meetup afterwards, so that's going to be a long day. I'm going to be extremely exhausted after that. Not going to be able to do much on that day. Usually I'm also tired on the day after, on the Thursday. Today I wasn't feeling that tired. I mean, I am a bit tired, but I wasn't feeling so tired that I just couldn't stream today. But yeah, that's another thing that, you know, yeah, I basically lost like 2 days, and I only really spend like an hour on like Tuesday and Thursday working on this, and then maybe a bit more time on Saturday if I can muster it. So I do need to be a little bit more I guess aware of what's going on. Something keeps changing in this lower right corner, and it catches my eye and it distracts me, and it breaks my thought processes, and I don't know what it is. I think it might be the weather thing here, or I'm really not sure, or maybe it's something to do with like the chat window here. Maybe like I get disconnected occasionally. I'm not sure what's happening, and it's really bothering me because like I keep losing my train of thought, and it's kind of frustrating. But anyway, I think that's going to be it for today's stream. We made a bit of progress. We did a cute little unit test for our business logic. We'll be adding more as we flesh things out and start adding new functionality, more settings, that kind of thing. And yeah, I can't think of any other things or any other new tasks I want to add just yet. I think I'm good. Oh wait, no, I just realized, yeah, this I was just reading this spec and I just came to the realization I don't think I have a task for Dockerization yet, and I definitely need to have a task for Dockerization because that's not going to be like so trivial that I can just do it in a few seconds or anything like that. Because I have stuff on documentation, right? Like that makes sense. That's gonna take some time. Adding a license file, that's a low-hanging fruit I could probably tack on to this sprint, maybe even. Design UI layout for web app, sure. That's I don't think that's estimated yet. Or if it is, then I didn't port the estimation to a label. Yeah, like we can definitely do this, I think. This sprint. Let me just throw that in. It's so low hanging. It's not even worth one story point, let's be real. It's like a few seconds. Okay, maybe like a minute at most. I don't know. GitHub Actions. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good task. I like this one. Probably gonna do this after Dockerization. So I need to add a Dockerization task, and then I'll work on this. This was 3 story points. Yeah, let's add a Dockerization task, because I don't think we have one here. Nope. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Pretty self-explanatory. We need Dockerization so we can easily run integration tests against it. It may also help with deployment later. Yeah. Create, I guess, a Docker compose or something. That makes sense, I think. I want to get this done sooner rather than later because then we can actually start writing integration tests. Like this is kind of a blocking issue for integration testing. So if we can get this out of the way quickly, this would be great. So this definitely needs to happen earlier in the project. Probably immediately after I even get the web app stuff. So I need to do the web app stuff first because that's going to be blocking for this. And then I'll do this, which is blocking for integration tests. And then we probably can start doing some actual integration testing. Because, well, we'll probably want to implement more things, but... Yeah, just thinking about this a bit, yeah, we probably could do some integration tests that way. Trying to think here, though. If we expose our business logic, well, we wouldn't want to do that, right? If we're just going to do integration testing from like the client side, or like, yeah, through like the front end, or like pretending to be the front end, I guess. Would be something like requests and stuff. Yeah, that's when we'd really want to do that. I guess in the meantime, we can always use fakes and mocks to test like specific cases in our business logic, right? kind of like an in-between for like unit testing. Like we could pass in like dummy settings, dummy RNG, real ROM file, and then test the writes against the ROM there. That way. That could be done as like a sort of unit test. It kind of falls in between, right? That's kind of thing. That when you're doing white box testing, it's that will be using like real files and stuff. See, I'm not entirely sure how I want to do all that yet. Again, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Anything else I want to do? I want to add story points to this. Dockerization. How long do I think that's going to take? I know how to write a little Docker compose. That's not too hard. I can do that. I don't think I'm going to be using Kubernetes. It's just like I have literally two. I have two containers. I think Kubernetes might be a little bit overkill for that. At least I think I'm gonna only have two containers. I don't know if I would need more, but I think Docker Compose is probably good enough. So likely not going to be super hard, but not going to be trivial. Like there's going to be some amount of work to this. I don't know, 2 story points or 3? I want to lean on the side of caution and go with 3. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. So we've got 3 there. I just thought of another task, but I already forgot it. That sucks. I need to remember. It was important. Because we're gonna Dockerize this. We're probably going to use it in like CI. So when we create our GitHub Actions workflow for this. Code coverage. Yes. Add appropriate badges to the repo. Repo has no badges right now. It would be nice to have a code coverage badge. This might increase in scope in the future as I decide on more badges, because I'm not actually sure off the top of my head what badges I want. We might add like a Discord badge or something too, but like this is also something that we need to do at some point. It's probably relatively low hanging, but it needs to be done at some point. I'm gonna give this 2 story points because I don't think it's very hard. Probably, at least I doubt it'll be very hard. Code coverage, actually I'm not really sure how that works. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. So that's kind of where most of my uncertainty is, but I think I think there's probably some very streamlined process for doing this, because there's a ton of repos, including Rust repos, that have these badges. So I think that's probably good enough. And I think next time when I stream, might be on Saturday, might be on Sunday, I don't know. But next time I stream, I think what I want to do is I want to actually create a milestone, and we're going to start looking at velocity. Obviously, velocity so far hasn't been like super great because stuff's gotten in the way, but hey, I mean that's life, right? You have to account for that when you're estimating. And yeah, we can maybe predict when we'll be done. That would be really cool to get that going. So yeah, that's it for today's stream. I forgot what I was gonna say. Thanks for watching if you are watching at all. I don't know. And right, I was gonna try my new hotkeys to try and end the stream. So let's see if that works.